Hurricane Andrew ended up being the first hurricane of the 1992 Atlantic hurricane season, and the only major hurricane to occur. So you would think that, well, the season was rather inactive. What could this storm have done?
Andrew started out like any other tropical storm in the central Atlantic on August 17th, and after tracking for a few days, passing the Lesser Antilles and moving off towards the north, it turned towards the west, and that's when it started to intensify.
This storm, although it was the only major hurricane of the 1992 season, packed an absolute wallop, as it was known as the costliest U.S. hurricane on record until Katrina happened. The storm was rather a small, modest system, moving to the north and west since it was formed, and then it ended up getting underneath an influence of a subtropical ridge that was centered around Savannah, Georgia, and it was moving along the south of it. The storm ended up picking up the Gulf Stream, and it rapidly intensified from a strong tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane in less than 48 hours. The storm would end up going across the Bahamas and making landfall at 165 miles per hour.
Andrew was the strongest storm to strike the Bahamas in nearly 30 years. Though despite that, it did only cause 4 fatalities thanks to awareness on the Bahamas. However, there was still a toll in terms of damage, with 800 homes destroyed and 1,700 people left homeless.
And weakening a little bit before ending up making landfall in Florida, where it made landfall in Homestead, and that's where most of the damage was caused. After it moved across Florida, it would end up affecting central and western Louisiana as a smaller Category 4 cyclone, and then ending up moving up to the north and east overland and dissipating, merging with the remnants of Hurricane Lester.
It's amazing to think how these images could be created from a hurricane, but one person who knows all too well about this is someone who was in the storm, TropMet's Michael Lacker.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I have a power line down and we don't know where to call. Do you have a number?
We'll announce it on the air, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I understand that there's quite a bit of heavy damage at Homestead Air Force Base, extensive damage. Emergency
sort of breathing of 5 relief bills in Broward and Palm Beach County.
Right now, emergency units are on the scene. That's the 3200 block of Northeast 9th Street.
It was not far from here where Andrew's highest waves were reported, at up to 17 feet or 5 metres. Whilst accurate wind information isn't available for the point of landfall, it's highly plausible that wind gusts exceeded 180 miles per hour, sustained winds well into Category 5 intensity. 90% of mobile homes were damaged here in Miami-Dade County, and over 100,000 homes were damaged in total, a fairly incomprehensible amount illustrated by its $25 billion price tag at the time in 1992, so it would be significantly more in 2014 dollars. High winds extended southwards onto the Upper Keys, and some more damage occurred there, but not as severe or widespread as to what was witnessed here. Light to moderate damage was also seen on the western coast from Lee County southwards. 44 were killed in Florida State during the passage of the storm. I'm standing between what's left of 2 trees that stood before Hurricane Andrew made landfall, and this is pretty much exactly where it did make landfall 22 years ago on the Florida mainland after it first crossed Elliott Key a few miles east of here. The hurricane was packing winds in excess of 160 miles per hour as it moved inland just north of Homestead and continued westwards, emerging over the Gulf of Mexico, still as a severe storm, of course, before making its final landfall on the Gulf Coast. Andrew then moved on to Louisiana, where it made landfall as a weak Category 3 hurricane, if weak is a term for it, with 115 mph winds. It also caused 14 tornadoes there and damaged thousands of homes in the state also. However, Andrew will always be remembered for the damage that it caused in Florida primarily, where damages totaled several tens of billions.